Welcome everybody to Beyond the Shadows. I'm author and ghostorian Mike Ricksecker. With me as always, our chat shenanigator from Edge of the Rabbit Hole, Shauna Uncle.
Hi.
It's a fantastic writer in her own right. 2 writes for the price of 1. And we got Ichabod Cranium back behind us, burning his balls off. Just thought I would say. Seriously. And of course, this episode of Beyond the Shadows is brought to you by Haunted Road Roast. It helps you hunt ghosts. There you go, Tim Schoen. I always appreciate doing it anyways because we are sponsoring ourselves. And then, of course, we have Ghosty, who has his own Facebook page. He does, Ghosty HRM. All right, everybody. So we're talking tonight about mythical entities, creatures, all that stuff, because at the end of our last show, you guys started bringing up all kinds of stuff about fairies and leprechauns and all those interesting things. We got into talking about legends, and of course we always end up getting into different experiences that we've had, things that we've seen, things that we've experienced, things that really don't have a lot of great explanation for it. And all of that out of, we were talking about the horror movie effect on paranormal culture. And somehow we got into fairies, and we talked about Carnival Row and things like that. But so we thought we'd go ahead and we'd visit this topic with you guys for this evening. We haven't talked about this type of stuff for a while, even though every once in a while we talk about the twinkles and the fairy activity. So we can start there and then maybe get into some other topics with it. You guys can throw down questions, ask about different things. We may or may not have answers for it because, I mean, you get on a topic like this and there is such a wide range of different entities and creatures and things like that. We might be able to talk about some, and others maybe not so much. So we'll see where it all goes. All right. So fairies. It's a goldenrod showboat. I mean, that's really where it started for us. A goldenrod showboat, or just along that strip of the Illinois River, because even the old Campsville locks down there, you're getting those really interesting captures. But it started with the twinkles. You know, after the goldenrod had been shut down for a while, and we started investigating there again after, what was it, maybe 4 or 5 months of a layoff. And because I only investigated there once before it got shut down. You had investigated there many, many times. You couldn't even count.
No.
But you said when we came back, the energy had changed. And during those investigations, there was a handful of them, like maybe a half dozen or something. We started seeing the twinkles. You mostly.
Yeah. And Jake and the rest of us that were there before the boat closed, that had been there like weekly, since August of 2013, and for Jake longer than that. You know, we were used to the energy that was on there. And then even the first day that I went back on the boat with Jake, just the two of us, and even then, you know, like there were times when I was just like, no. No, like I ran upstairs to Captain Minky's room, and I was like, hey, you know, I'm back. We're back. Everybody's back. And I didn't stick around very long because even though I could still somewhat sense him, there was other energy on there that I could sense that I didn't know. And, you know, I know that happens sometimes, but the dominant energy in the boat was no longer what I was familiar with. And so it was totally different. It was like getting to know, you know, a new venue, really. So, and I don't think it was just all your typical human spirits either. You know, the activity, the energy, everything was just different. So,
well, yeah, we're sitting there on the stage, and I think it was when we heard some stuff on the right-hand side of the room. There was some stuff down like the pile of debris that was there, and then down that one hallway that was along the side of the boat. And I think it was when I was over there, I think taking a peek down that hall, that you saw that twinkle in the corner, and that was like really the first one.
Yeah, and I was so surprised, and I was going to just blow it off because, you know, what was that? You know, so I figured I'd probably blow it off until I see it again, you know, but I still said something because just in case, you know, he saw it too, or so he knew what to look for. And so we definitely didn't get disappointed. I mean, that one was like right there in front of us. I was like, whoa, hey,
yeah. When we
don't touch the camera.
Yeah, we ended up setting up that camera like right in front of us. It was down on the floor in the middle of the showroom, but close to the stage, looking up at us because, we're trying to get footage and get different angles and stuff for our videos that we post on the YouTube channel. And yeah, it was like right next to the camera, but we had also heard something, and whatever that sound was also came in on the audio of that camera. So there was a lot going around that camera, or a lot going on around that camera at that time, and it seemed to be related to this twinkle that we were seeing. And we're talking about this twinkle because we've kind of related this to possible fairy activity.
Yeah, because, and the twinkles came first, and then, we started seeing, or we saw the big yellow ball of light. And then after that, I started seeing, but I never saw a twinkle more than one in a room at a time. And I never saw the yellow balls more than one at a time in a room. And I never saw the two together at the same time, like coexisting or whatever. The twinkles with shadows, yeah, I saw that. Oh, actually, no, I take that back. 2 twinkles
with the one shadow.
There was that one time that I saw two of them at the same time.
And it was following a shadow.
Into
Charlie's area.
Single file. There was a twinkle over there.
And I just heard something up over there.
It's a... maybe that was a
bug. It could have been a bug, but
I
don't know about your twinkle.
A bug is not going to light up. It wasn't a lightning bug. Anyway.
Lightning bugs are done, so.
Yeah. Anyway, and they were the same height, the twinkles were. And they were like evenly spaced apart. It was like just like an assembly line, the two of them. But the shadow was big going through the doorway. And then it was all evenly spaced. It was so... I remember noticing how weird that was. That the shadow from the first twinkle to the second twinkle, they were all evenly spaced apart. I don't know why. I have no idea. But that's what I saw. So
yeah, and
it was crazy.
And I guess just given everybody's kind of...
Whoops.
That's what you get for messing around with the chat room.
Sorry.
And she's still shenanigans at chat during the show. But I guess given everybody's preconceptions about what fairies look like, this is kind of why we've chalked it up to that. Robert Hanna is saying the t-shirts are cool. Thank you very much. And let's see, we got Megan Talbert and Heather Steele coming in saying hello. So thank you very much. And Tanya Rogers, thank you as well. Yeah, so it's basically that appearance. Now, when you get into like the history and lore, because we started looking this stuff up, it's like, okay, is what we saw a fairy? And we have another story here that we'll get into a little bit that is kind of like even more so. That's like, okay, this may have been really what that was. But one of the funny things is when you start to look up, what a fairy really is, you run into all of that legend and lore. Whether it's online or in books or whatever, where they get into like this hierarchy of the Fey realm and all these things. They'll put mermaids and stuff like that in there as a fairy, which I always find kind of interesting. And I always kind of wonder, who's the one that sat down and interviewed the fairy to ask them, okay, so, what exactly are you? How's your social structure done? What are your distant relatives, like the mermaids and leprechauns and, whatever, that are all supposedly lumped in gnomes, as fairies. And maybe they are, who knows, because we haven't really sat down and asked one. But it's that twinkle, almost kind of like that Tinkerbell effect that is like, okay, maybe that's what it was, or, people talk about, they have all kinds of different little names like water sprite, and because we're right there on the water.
Yeah. But then there are times when we see them when we're nowhere near water. I mean, I've asked them plenty of times. They just don't talk. The twinkles don't talk, but there's sometimes when I'll be like, one time did one of the little balls interact with me, but it scared me because it was just like boom right there in the grass in front of me. It scared the crap out of me, and then I was like, and then I jumped, and I think I scared it because then it went further away. I was like, oh no, come back, I'm sorry. And then it kind of popped up, again a little closer. And then where were we at?
Have you seen him in a lot of different places? So
yeah, but
what was going on at the
Manila.
time?
We were at the schoolhouse, and there was absolutely nothing else going on like what we were told would probably be happening.
Yeah, we had other things going on.
Yeah, there was that. I was haunted, but the place.
Stuff was going on with Shauna.
I will say that I'm not going to say the place is not haunted, but I will just say that nothing happened for me, and that's very rare. But
yeah, I mean, there was the thing that was following you around the twinkle. So there's stuff going on with you, and then later on in one room that we hadn't heard anything about before. There was like a little bit of something going on, and we didn't know if it was related to you or maybe something that was there. But yeah, at first, the very first activity was a twinkle.
Yeah,
and I saw that one.
Yeah, and so like I said, I've said it before on here. I'll say it again. I have no idea, what they are. I have no idea what they want. And then I have no idea if they've always been around, and seeing one the first time just kind of unlocked that ability now that I'm able to see them everywhere, or are they just now all of a sudden showing up?
Yeah. Tanya Rogers says, as an English teacher, I struggle between lore and literature and the possibility of reality, but the lore had to come from somewhere. Absolutely. And that's something that we talk about all the time, even when it comes to, like your local urban legends that are more recent. Even like within the last, 50 to 100 years, local urban legends, those stories came from somewhere. There's some original grain of truth, and over the years it gets, modified and twisted and then compounded upon, and so it becomes something totally different later on. But originally there was something. So yeah, with these stories about fairies and like I'll take for instance leprechauns. I think that honestly back in Ireland there was probably a race of people that were very short and small. You hear about the quote unquote hobbit type humanoid people from the island Southeast Asia. I forget the exact island, but where they found that other race of people that were kind of hobbit-like. They were shorter and they had different characteristics and whatnot, and so those were actual human beings, just related to us. And the locals on that island had a lot of different legends and stories about them, even to the point of, well, you can tell a person that has descendants from that race because of these different physical characteristics that they have. And so, when it comes to things like leprechauns and short little people, even though it's a different part of the world, I've always kind of related the two. Like, well, maybe those people in Ireland were seeing something similar, like a smaller, type of race of people like that, and that's what they called them. They called them leprechauns. They created a little backstory for them, and maybe over time they just like died off like those other hobbit type humanoid people. And so all that was left were the lore and legends that got manipulated over the years. So Terry Tormino's liking the new shirts. She says looks great. Definitely getting one. Awesome. Thank you very much. Betty Lange says her father believed in fairies. Very, very cool. Robert Hanna, all myths and legends are based on some truth. Absolutely. Giovanni Fitzgerald will probably be mythical creatures to another species sometime in the future. That's probably true. That's probably very true. At some point, the human species as we know it now will be gone. Different. I mean, we're finding those bones of other different human species now, and we have no idea how they really interacted with each other. And we have all these different ideas, and we speculate, but yeah, we don't really know for sure. So Candy Orton had a question here. What are your thoughts on puckwudgies? I know you probably don't have an opinion.
I have never heard of them.
Yeah,
honestly.
No, I've heard them. I mean, they're a Native American legend. They're short people, about 4.5 feet tall. They're like grayish. They're kind of tricksters. Apparently the humans pissed them off at some point in time, so now they can be very dangerous. That's the legends. There are people that claim that see them. And what's interesting about the Pukwudgie stories that come around these days, because it's not just Native Americans, reporting these stories now. It's people from all over. Started mostly in the East, but you see a lot of these stories now coming about in the Midwest. People reportedly seeing them, and you kind of take it with a grain of salt, as with any of these stories that we hear about and collect. That okay, maybe they did see something, or maybe they read a story about this type of creature or being or whatever, and decided to say, "Oh yeah, I've seen one," and it's just what
that picture that I showed you. The genie took in her bathroom, and that had that little gnome looking.
Oh, I mean, that could be a Pukwudgie. Honestly.
She got it from the cafe because it happened after she went digging.
It was kind of creepy-ish. Yeah. It was kind of grayish. Maybe that was a Pukwudgie.
I mean,
there you go, Candy.
It was creepy as hell,
Pukwudgie in Illinois.
I mean, dang. Candy, I will send you the picture of it and let you look at it, because... I mean, it was creepy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't not believe in them. I've never personally seen one myself. I know the legends are out there, and I know that a lot of these legends are based on some sort of truth.
And that it sparked the Native American sparked it, because where that cafe is, there was a Native American campsite right there, and then they were digging up artifacts and stuff like that there. So I know what was there. But then, I may have actually seen one. Didn't even know it.
Yep. Very well could have.
Yep.
Michelle Judkins, Allison, I love mermaids. Don't know if they're real, but I collect them. I mean, don't know if they're real or not. I know a lot of people say, well, these sailors were seeing the porpoises laying out on the rocks, and because they either had like seasickness or were drunk or whatever. I mean, there's a guy saying that you can drink a woman pretty. Sorry, I'm not trying to be sexist or anything, but there is a guy saying that is like that, and you're talking about these old sailors back then that they could have drunk a porpoise pretty. Shauna scrunching her nose at that. Just saying, being a guy, guys are beasts like that. Sorry. Yeah. So Candy Orton asking the Orang Asli Asian Pacific Island, Papua New Guinea. Yes, that down there. Yep. Because I think that's the only island where they've been found. I just forgot the name of it, but thank you. That's what I was talking about. So, Robert Handa, do you guys think these creatures are interdimensional? And Candy says she's encountered a Pukwudgie in New York. Okay, please do tell. But to answer Robert's question, I mean, interdimensional is always very much a possibility. Yeah.
I mean, the only way to really know for sure is for one to tell you that they don't do that. So we just have to automatically assume that.
Yeah, they don't say, hi, I'm an interdimensional creature. I mean, we talk about that with shadow people.
Yeah. I mean, I want to know what's taking stuff in the house. Like,
she's
seriously.
had that lately, yeah.
Like, I've had a lot of it. And, I'm very respectful to all types of, entities.
We've been chalking it up to the fairies.
Yeah. I don't think it's the fairies that I'm used to. I think that there's something else going on in the house.
It's the gnomes.
Might be, fairly. Because I'm not kidding now. There's some times where my stuff will just disappear. Like, nobody knows. Or it'll pop up in a place where I know I didn't put it and nobody else, put it anywhere. So, and then there's some stuff that has just disappeared from the house. Like, it's gone.
Well, and the odd one was that lotion.
Yeah.
It disappeared off the counter. We're looking around for it. I finally found it under some stuff underneath the sink, which you never put it there.
No.
I never touched it. Your boys have no reason to touch it. And so we put it back up on the counter. And then the next day it disappeared again, and we haven't seen it since.
And that's been a couple months
That's
ago,
been a couple months now,
at
yeah.
least. And when I say it's disappeared, I mean
It's gone.
it's gone.
It's just
like it
gone.
is gone.
Yeah.
You know, we're the only ones in the house. So, house fairies.
House
I mean,
fairies.
I don't know.
Some sort of trickster entity, maybe. I don't know. Are they interdimensional, though, is the question. And possibly, because and you hear about this with, even with like human spirits, with ghosts. And I always interchange those names. I know people like to define this is a ghost, this is a spirit. I always interchange the name. Sorry, guys, I just do. But, a lot of times you'll hear reports of, the spirit made off with something. And where does it go? Because you look around the house, can't find it at all. And then all of a sudden it magically appears one day on top of a counter somewhere. So where was it during that time you couldn't find it? Was it in another dimension? So if these are some sort of trickster, gnomes, fairies, whatever, are they taking your items to another dimension? Because it's been like a belt and other stuff too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one time in the house that I was in before I moved to Greenfield, when I was living in the same town as the cafe, and I just moved up away from it a little bit, my keys went missing. And I was the only one in the house at the time. I was the only one there when I woke up in the morning. And I was the only one there, the whole time. So I put my keys on the table because I was getting ready to leave to go somewhere. And I remember, pretty happy because I was going to be on time leaving, And wasn't something I was getting paid for. I'm always on time for work, But then there's others, so I'm just late too. Stuff comes up. But I was going to be early, and I was pretty happy. So I went to go grab my keys off the table, and they were not there in the spot. But everything else was sitting there. And so I was like, well, where'd my keys go? And the house is fairly good size. So I was like, oh my God, where are my keys? And so, I kind of backtracked a little bit, and I was like, okay. So I got up, I did this, I did that. I grabbed my keys, I put them on the table. I grabbed my purse out of the chair, I put it on the table. Where are they? Right. So finally, and then I started hearing some stuff in the house. I was like, nope. So I was going to blame it just on, one of the whoever's that followed me home. And that happened sometimes, even after me saying, no, don't follow me home. It just happened. And so finally, I stood at the opposite end of the table from where I put my keys. And I yelled. I was just like, I'm not messing around. I don't know who took my keys, but you have until the count of 3 to put them back, and I'm not even going to leave the room. I just want them back. And because I tried that too, leaving the room. And I come back, nope, they're still gone. So I was screaming in the house. If I said 1, by the time I got to 2, it was like something swallowed them up, and they just, because there they were at the end of the table, and they slid across the table at me. And I was like, well, oh, okay. So I grabbed my keys. I was like, thank you.
It just kind of morphed out of thin air?
Yeah. It's like there was nothing, and then all of a sudden keys were there and sliding
across
at
the table.
me. So where did they go?
That sounds like another dimension right there.
Yeah. I was like, and then so I'm sitting here thinking to myself, okay, so that was big enough to hold keys. Surely no people aren't going to start disappearing in the house, And it kind of scared me a little bit because I was like, what was that? I'm thinking some kind of weird black hole in my house. Some kind of portal stuff going on or what's going on, So talking to my house, I'm sitting there, look, I don't know who you are, what you are. I was like, but you cannot do that anymore. This stuff wasn't going on, hasn't been going on all this time, just all of a sudden. So whatever's here is not welcome anymore. You can't take my stuff, so you have to leave. Because I was late. I was late to where I was going that day.
Because somebody's being mischievous.
Yeah, I said, so you can't do that anymore. And it didn't happen again. So whatever it was just, it was there, it was gone.
I have a similar key story. They weren't my keys, but it was during a paranormal investigation. It was at a place in Oklahoma City that we had nicknamed the House of the Insane. because there was just crazy shit that went on there. There was a little boy spirit there, and I can't remember the exact interaction that was going on in the room, but basically the interaction was about, if you want to play something with, if you want to play with something of mine, you can play with it, something like that. I was one of the other guys in the group, and sure enough, as we were wrapping up the investigation, because that wasn't long before we started to wrap up, he couldn't find his keys anywhere. And so we're looking around, cannot find them at all. And so, finally he ended up, he apologized and said, we need to stop playing now. And I can't remember exactly what he said, but he basically apologized, all that sort of stuff. And all of a sudden, from the kitchen, you heard the jingle of keys. And in the one case that we had displayed open, that I had already looked in like 2 or 3 times, because you get to the point where you just start looking in everything over and over and over again. I already looked in that case like 2 or 3 times. Boom, there's the keys right there. So, that may have just been the little boy spirit. I don't know if it was like something else. Because you couldn't see with your eyes, so how do you know?
Yeah.
All right, some other stuff from down in the chat. Following up from earlier, Candy Orton telling you, Shauna, I encountered right next to Native American burial grounds. So that would have been the Pukwudgie. So I think this was from Giovanni Fitzgerald. Wendigos and the Jersey Devil might be the same thing. Too many people go missing in the woods. That's one theory about the Jersey Devil. There's a lot of different theories about the Jersey Devil. But you're right. A lot of people go missing in the woods, and I know about the missing 411 books and all that, which people find really, really fascinating. It happens where, people do go missing in the woods. Now, some of them legitimately just get lost in the woods. But there are other ones that go missing for long periods of time. They come back. There's a time displacement. Nobody knows where they've been. The person doesn't know where they've been. And weird stuff like that happens. So a lot of it gets chalked up to interdimensional beings in the woods, aliens, creatures, all kinds of stuff, and we just really don't know. But it is fascinating how people get lost out there like that. So, let's see. So Robert Hanna asking, what do you guys know about the Tommyknockers? They're supposed to be gnome-type creatures that miners encountered in the mines. That's about as much as I know about Tommyknockers.
That's what I know. Just what I've read, just what I've seen on TV.
Again, tricksters and, things like that. That's about as much. I know they were down in the mines, and miners reported them. So I don't know a whole lot about them. Candy Orton, again, following up on the Pukwudgie, she says, Mike, Shauna, in western New York in the woods bordering Native American burial grounds. It was a horribly vicious creature, and won't say exactly where in public because it's not safe to be around or go searching for. You can PM me about it, Mike. Shauna. Okay, I will. Yeah, it'd be interesting. So let's
Marcellus has been saying some stuff, and I'm pretty sure I saw
Did I miss
him
Marcellus's
compare
stuff?
me to Zach Bagans in some way, and I'm about to hand him his
Oh, I
book.
saw some Zach Bagans comment way up there, but
Yeah. Lucky he's just joking.
when I see the name Zach, I usually kind of generally ignore it.
Yep. Lucky he's just joking, and I like him.
And Marcelo says the only thing I think I ever lost for good was my mind. Nice. Some Ozzy Osbourne quote.
I'm pretty sure that happens to me every week.
Yep. All right. Marcellus is also asking, ant people, lizard people, all type of creatures, beings. And yeah, there's a lot of different. There's a dog man. There's all kinds of things that we could get into. Like I said, we'll be depending on what it is, because there's so many different types of creatures and so many different type of legends. It'll depend on what it is that we can actually talk about.
Native American, like shapeshifters and
Yeah,
stuff like
there's a lot of that stuff. There's skinwalkers.
Pretty sure I encountered one of those, even though I've told the story before, but she looked like a human, but the energy that she was giving off was animal. So I thought it was an animal. It was up near the woods behind my house, and I felt like there was an animal nearby, but when I looked up, it was human. And that's the first time that's ever happened to me before, and it hasn't happened since. So,
yeah, there's a lot of shapeshifter legends out there, you know, and there might be cause for it, if these entities are in and out of other dimensions, like, we kind of speculate with some of them, maybe as they shift from one dimension to another, their form actually changes. So maybe when they're in one form, they're actually in another dimension, and maybe we kind of see that to a degree, and then as they come fully into our dimension, they change into whether it's a human or whatever. So Terry Tormino is asking, what about the creepypasta stuff like Slender Man, etc.? So I mean that's fiction, really. Slender Man originated off of basically it was a Photoshop contest. So submit a original piece of photo artwork, and it was on I can't remember the name of the board, but basically it was just a forum out there. And so when he submitted it, he included a little creepy story along with the photo, and he submitted 2 of them. And from there, people thought it was very cool. They started submitting their own Slender Man photos with their own creepy little stories, and it just took off. And everybody kept, adding and adding and adding to the story. There are people that believe that Slender Man over time has become a tulpa. So the original concept of Slender Man would be completely fiction, but that perhaps if you believe in like the Buddhist idea of thought forms becoming reality and things like that, that everybody's collective thoughts and ideas of this Slender Man thing coming together, and then a supernatural entity, maybe interdimensional or whatever, picking up on that idea and saying, I'm going to mimic this and become this. Even though it's not really Slender Man, it is something acting like Slender Man. But it's still doing many, many of the similar things if it can, in its capabilities. So it's an interesting concept. And there are people that believe like Slender Man is real now because of this tulpa thought form idea, where the original concept was all purely fiction. So it's interesting. So Tammy Heitzman says, I've heard many stories about people who will be driving somewhere and the scenery will suddenly change to a different time, then suddenly back. It's fascinating. It would take me a few to get back my bearings if that ever happened to me. Yeah, I mean, you hear about time slips. I mean, that's a time slip.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. One of those books that you had a really interesting story about a time slip where I think it was in Paris, and they were walking through whatever garden. I think it was outside of Versailles or something like that, and all of a sudden it just turned into like the 19th century, and there were women and people walking about that were in all that dress and all that, and then they were able to interact a little bit, and then all of a sudden it slipped back to modern time. So yeah, that's a time slip. What else you got? Agatha Holmes, Earth has changed, is still changing, more stuff in the woods and oceans. Yeah, you always have to keep that in mind, that the Earth is always changing, we're always changing the Earth, which is probably not a good thing, but it happens, and so that has an effect on the things around us as well. So, Robert Hannah, a lot of the Slender Man stuff was based off the Shadow Man entity, Hat Man. Yeah, there's a lot of those concepts that have been integrated into Slender Man, because Slender Man is kind of dark and ominous, except for he has a white face, white head, So, but very, very similar in a lot of those type of ideas. So let's see, the big fairy story, the big one. We talk about it all the time, but as you guys throw some other questions down there, we'll go ahead and tell it. So this was on the Goldenrod Showboat along the Illinois River, following a Ghosts of the Goldenrod event that we did. It was actually the last official event on the Goldenrod, sadly. It's just after Thanksgiving. What was it, like the Saturday after Thanksgiving that year? Mm-hmm. So we had Coyote Chris Sutton out. And we had some people show up for that, even though it was a holiday weekend, which was nice. It was cold, though. But Shauna's friend Tara also showed up, and she, I guess, had been locally. And then she's in Florida now, right?
Yeah, she's in Florida now.
She's in Florida soaking up the sun and during the winter now. But, so it was the 3 of us that were left at the end. Everybody else had left. Remember, we had been investigating. We were basically running a paranormal investigation, trying to raise some funds for the Goldenrod. So basically all of our batteries were shot, and we're just kind of sitting in the showroom, kind of shooting the shit, So Tara and Shauna are sitting on the floor. I'm standing up. The only source of light in the entire place was the flashlight that I had on the floor shooting off into the lobby area. everything was boarded up. They had just boarded the whole boat up for the winter to, kind of protect everything. So no source of light other than my flashlight. Well, as we're talking, girls mostly, I'm kind of like, yep. That's not the way it goes, right? Because our friends catching up, I get it. Well, I saw this like translucent yellow ball of light just kind of like drop down at an angle between the two. And I kind of like looking like, what? I didn't really pay it any mind at first because it just could have been like maybe a trick of my eyes or whatever. And so I just didn't really say anything at first. But then next to Shauna, a moment later, there was this bar of light that appeared next to her. It was kind of V-shaped a little bit. And I'm like, what in the world is that? Now, again, I looked down at my flashlight, see if I kicked it or something. No, it's still shooting straight off into the lobby. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go around Shauna and check this thing out. And I'm like looking and kind of saying, okay, where could this source of light be coming from? I'm not finding one because everything's boarded up. And the girl's kind of looking at me like, okay, what the hell is he doing? I see the thing start to waver on the floor like this and then was gone. It's like, what the hell was that? So I described to them what I saw because I'm like, did you guys see that? I'm like, no, because they were looking at me like, wonder what the hell I'm doing. And so then as I'm looking down at them, describing what I saw, and they're looking up at me, I see a whoosh around Shauna, that translucent yellow ball of light again. I'm like, oh, there goes around Shauna. Of course, I didn't see it because they were looking at me. So they must be thinking I'm crazy. But finally, I'm redeemed because it was suddenly up in the air, just darting to and fro about the showroom all over the place for like the next 4 minutes. I know it's about 4 minutes because we have an audio clip. That's all we have because there was no video going. Our cameras are gone. Yeah. So you hear us going back and talking about it, seeing it, and all over the place. It's everywhere. And then the last, at least that I saw it, was it swooped down between Tara and Shauna and off into the lobby.
It was big.
It was about the size of a softball.
Yeah, it was pretty good sized.
Maybe baseball, but I think it was a little bigger than baseball, maybe closer to softball.
I have not seen one that big since. Like the biggest one I've seen since then is about the size of a golf ball.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty close. And sometimes they're that yellow color. Other times they're the little bit orange or like the candle flame color. But they always pretty much stay in the same shade range. I've seen balls of light of different colors, but this one has been pretty consistent and just everywhere we go, everywhere I go. Sometimes I'll see them out in the yard in broad daylight, sometimes I'll see them at night, see them when it's cold out, whenever you can only blame it on fireflies. I've seen my share of fireflies over the years. I know what it's not, but I can't say for sure I know what it is.
Yeah. I mean, we speculate fairy because, again, that type of just kind of what we gotten from pop culture, Tinkerbell, legend and lore, the way they're supposed to illuminate and things like that. So that's where your mind immediately goes to. And also the idea that the whole waving thing, because I think that ball of light and the thing that was on the floor, that bar of light that was waving, I think they're the same thing. So it was transformative. So that it came down to us as that ball and then was on the floor. And I mean, you might call me crazy, but I think it was like a really, really, really tiny entity, creature, whatever the hell it was, about that big on the floor. And it was emanating its own light. I guess maybe out of its back because it was like a little V shape like that. So if you think about from a little point shooting backward, it kind of makes sense. And then the waving, if you think about wings maybe, and I know it was waving, wings would be flapping sort of thing, but think about how the ancients would have interpreted something like this that became our legend and lore. Maybe they saw that waving back and forth too, and their minds attributed to what can we relate it to? Bugs, birds, things like that. Must be wings. So maybe however this thing forms into its ball, that's the reaction. Maybe it's wings, I don't know. But basically, it formed up into that ball again and then went whooshing around Shauna and then up into the air. So transformative, maybe it was what we think of as a fairy or a sprite or a brownie or whatever the hell you want to call them. It flies.
Oh, yeah.
And it has its own light source.
It flies and it moves fast. And it makes no sound. I didn't hear it make any sound. You didn't hear anything. Didn't really get a heads up that it was going to be there. Like when it was next to me, I had no clue. And then the whole time it was just a visual thing. I mean, I know I didn't hear anything. I didn't feel anything. Didn't smell anything. There was just nothing. It was just all visual. And that's it. You know, and every once in a while, before I'll see one of the little balls of light or twinkle, every once in a while, I'll sense that something's going to happen, and I'll turn and look, and boop, there it is. But it doesn't always happen. It's just oh, look, there's a twinkle, you know, just like across the room. I had no idea.
And the twinkles are very different than that ball of light that we saw. And we actually do have a twinkle on film. There is a bit of goldenrod footage where you see it bloop, like real quick, and it's like a pinprick. I mean, it is actually tough to see. I remember when I first showed you that piece of footage, you're like, what the hell are you talking about?
Like, I don't see anything.
But it's there. It goes by so fast. I put a little arrow on the footage. Here it is. And you have to like keep your, get some toothpicks, keep your eyes wide open, and you'll see it. It blips in there. Like
your best idea, the best way to view it is to watch it and then note the time that the arrow pops up, and then go back and wait for that point again and make sure your eyes are open, because if you blink, you're going to miss it for sure.
Absolutely. If you blink, you miss it. But that was a twinkle.
Just like these twinkles when we see them. You know, if you blink, there's probably more that I don't see. If I blink, I will miss it. It's literally just like a plane. Just blink, blink, blink. That's kind of what it is. You know, you see it blink.
Sometimes you just get one blink. Sometimes you get a blink and then another blink and another blink, like you say. Yeah. But it's not predictable.
No, but they're in the house. The balls of light, those are in the house. I've seen those in there too. There, you saw one in next to me, in the bed next to the bed.
Yep.
I didn't see it, but
yeah, there are few and far between. But there are times that I see it and you don't. Yep. So Robert Hanna asks, are pixies supposed to be the same things as fairies? Like extremely similar, part of the same family, cousins. I don't know. There's books that talk about how they're related and whatever, intermarriage and whatever between species and brothers and sisters and incest or what, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know how some of those books figure it all out. It comes from legend and lore that's been passed down for thousands of years is where it comes from. So, just kind of almost like the same thing with Greek mythology and all of that. The story has been passed down. There are lessons to learn within it. There probably are some real pieces of truth within it, but to know what those things are, it's going to be very, very difficult to pull out of it, which has made this research really, really difficult because you've witnessed something and you want to be able to try to research what the hell did I just see? And so, you get an idea, where you start is what you think it is. And so us thinking that we saw a fairy or a pixie or a sprite or a brownie or whatever you want to call it, that's where we started. And we come across all the folklore, so it's very difficult. And even like that photo down at the Campsville Locks, where it's something, you're taking a photo of me and it's just this huge arc right in there.
And
there's something flying in there. No.
I did not use flash because it was light enough out.
Yeah, it had its own light.
I didn't need to. But I didn't see it whenever I took the picture. But it's big. Like that trail or whatever it is.
That trail's huge. Nice big arc.
And like in scale to, a human.
I mean, it had been going a shit ton of fast to create that because, I mean, you're using the natural light. I'm perfectly clear as a bell. So, your camera took it like right away. So for it to leave that long of a trail in your photo with how fast your shutter speed is on there, that thing had to be booking because in that short period of time, the camera picked up on it being in all of those places. Mm-hmm. So it was damn fast.
Yeah.
And that was something at the on the goldenrod when we were saying, "Oh, well, you're fast," and Tara heard because she's a psychic, I know, or whatever it was. But yeah, that thing down at the locks would have been extremely fast.
Yeah, and no heads up. I didn't even know. I was just taking a picture of Mike just to take a picture of Mike because he was standing next to something cool,
Yeah, it's definitely a cool area.
And
wish the water would get out of there so we go back.
Yeah, zero. No idea at all of what I was going to capture in that picture. Had no idea. Didn't feel like anything. So I was surprised, and then I was like, "Oh, it's a bug," And then I had to sit there and be like, "Well, maybe it's not a bug because I wasn't using my flash." It'd have been different if I'd used my flash, and then I could have said, "Oh, it was a bug." And my light just happened to reflect off of it and,
right.
Stuff like that. But
yeah, there's a lot of bug photos out there that people have attributed to fairies because, the little antenna and everything on the actual bugs themselves that when you get that reflection, it makes it look like a fairy. But it's not. It's a bug. Something I forgot.
I have some cool ones.
There are some cool ones, yeah.
That are bugs.
They're bugs, but they look like fairies.
But they look cool. Really cool. And so
something I forgot to do was, we do have the call-in number if anybody wants to try to call in.
Yay! Who wants to call in?
Who wants to call in? So let me make sure I have the settings set up here right because I just didn't do any of that because we were trying to get to the show real quick. Okay, so there we go. I think I have that right. Okay, so if anybody wants to call in, there you go. We don't have that much longer left in the show anyway, but yeah, I at least wanted to throw it out there because that is something we're trying to do more in the show now. So from Betty Lange, Mike, Shauna, do you believe that the twinkles are intelligent? I mean, they kind of seem like it. I'm not sure.
They seem to follow commands. I mean, like, come back. And then have one, pop over closer, or, hey, don't touch that. And then, I mean, it's following just simple, commands, but it certainly doesn't say anything where I can capture it on audio, which would be very helpful. That would be so helpful. But that just, what I can be guaranteed is wherever I go, it could be a total dead zone with no paranormal activity whatsoever, and I can count on them being there to amuse me. Yeah. I can count on that. So, and I wish someone other than him would see one. Oh, Adam did.
Adam did at Mineral Springs. Yes,
yeah,
Adam Tillery.
Pool,
yeah,
and he had the thermal pointing that way too about that time, so he thought he might have caught it. I don't think
yeah, the footage he sent me the footage and I took a look, and the footage is inconclusive, but Adam is a person that I trust, and that's what it comes down to a lot in this. People can capture something on film. You just don't know these days because there's so many ways to manipulate stuff, or Photoshop a pic, or Alex was talking about on the show earlier today on Edge of the Rabbit Hole about that guy that all this crazy stuff was going on in his house, and I'm pretty sure it's rigged up, but you don't know for sure because you're not there. You're just seeing what he's throwing up on the YouTube channel. So you don't know unless you're there or you trust the person or whatever. Adam is a person that I trust, so he says he saw a twinkle. I believe him. He saw a twinkle. Mm-hmm. But there are some other people around that I don't trust so much. They'll say, "Oh, I saw this and this happened to me, and I channeled whomever," and it's like, yeah, I'm not buying that.
Yeah, I hate to be that way. I do. But it's hard to trust people sometimes unless you really, really know them. Are they genuinely seeing the same thing that you're seeing, or are they just following the crowd because they don't want to be left out and they want to be cool? I mean, I don't know. And because I don't know.
I'm making a bunch of noise here because we do have a call, and I'm trying to get Shauna her headphones, and it's tangled up in everything else I have on the table. So there's your headphones. And I'll get mine on, and we will take this call. All right, so let me admit them. Hello, you're on the air with Mike and Shauna on Beyond the Shadows.
Ding ding.
Hello, you're on the air with Mike and Shauna on Beyond the Shadows.
Hello.
Who are we talking to?
Am I on?
You're on.
You're on the air.
I saw Shauna's twinkles.
What's that?
Is this who I think it is?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Who are we talking to?
This is your good friend Adam T from Kansas City.
Oh, Adam Tillery.
Well,
all right.
look,
That's who I
I
thought
can't.
it
I
was.
can't take a hint. Apparently.
That's who I thought it was.
So how's it going, Adam?
pretty good. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing really well. Thanks for calling in. So yeah, you saw the twinkle.
Yeah,
you want
of
to
course.
talk about your experience?
Yeah, sure thing. Definitely, it was a visual thing. I agree with you. You know, the footage I sent you. I mean, I sent you the footage with capturing the moment.
Yeah.
But what I had seen was with my own eyes. I had seen a twinkle, and I saw it on two different occasions. One's when I was standing on the other side of the pool, looking towards that back room. I've never gone in that back room, but it's definitely in that back room. I saw it with my own eyes, saw the twinkle, and then later, when I was standing next to Shauna, when she saw it down in the corner of the pool, close to the entrance, I had seen a twinkle, and my camera was pointed in a general direction, but it did not, you know, the camera did not pick it up. I was able to see it with my own eyes.
Yeah. It's really interesting. Have you seen it anywhere else, or was that just it there at Mineral Springs?
You know, honestly, I think that's the only place I've ever seen it.
Interesting.
I can't say if it was power of suggestion or not, but I mean, I can't deny that I did see some sort of light anomaly with my own eyes.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I know with the footage you sent, you capturing the moment, it's like maybe, but it was just not quite conclusive enough. But like I said, you know, I've known you forever, and you know, I trust what you're telling me. And if you say you saw a twinkle, I believe that. You know, especially knowing that we've seen twinkles there before, and maybe Shauna. I don't know, maybe if you introduced them to Mineral Springs and they're hanging out there now so that Adam can see them, but you know,
That it could be. Maybe she was just sort of like a key or an amplifier for the twinkles.
yeah, very well could be. Now, have you seen anything else like similar to that, like maybe like balls of light or anything like that?
You know, now that you mentioned that, it was a place in downtown KCMO. It's the Harris Kearney House. It was used by Union officers during the Battle of Westport. We were on the second floor in what used to be one of the colonel's offices where soldiers would go up and report to the colonel. And same thing. I had the camera rolling. I had actually captured a light anomaly with, well, I didn't capture it. I saw it with my own eyes float in front of me. Alec and Gideon were right there. And it happened right in front of my camera, but you could not see it. But I did happen to see that light anomaly just float like your standard twinkle or your standard light anomaly that only appears for a couple seconds and disappears.
Yeah, it's really interesting like that. Let me ask you this, because you use a lot of different equipment. Do you have any theories as to why we may be able to see these things with our own eyes, but our equipment has such a hard time trying to actually capture it?
Vibrational frequencies. I'm a big believer in that.
All right, can you explain that to
So-
our audiences at home that might not know what that is?
Yeah, sort of to break it down. All right, so you know, I don't want to get too scientific,
No, that's
but
okay.
let's just say you're a lot of people say that kids see spirits a lot more than adults. This is believed that if you look at it at a molecular level, their atoms are still brand new, their cells are brand new, they're vibrating at a higher frequency, they're growing up, they're getting older, but as you get older, those vibrational frequencies slow down and you may not be able to see things at a different vibrational frequency as you once did when you were a kid. But say you're a full-grown adult, you're jacked up on caffeine, or you're super duper tired, your atoms are going to vibrate at a different frequency, which may allow you for a split moment to see ghosts like the average children does, or the average child does.
And Shauna wonders why I stay up late and drink coffee.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
I have a question.
Oh,
then,
yeah.
Because I didn't see anything ever that I can recall as a child, but I see more now, and I don't even drink coffee.
Well, to answer your question, we need to get to a science lab right now and develop a device to see what rate the human body is vibrating at a molecular level.
I like that idea.
Let's do it. Let's do it. He is vibrating way higher at the caffeine level because, and he doesn't sleep. So it's.
He makes an interesting point when he talks about that, and this is actually something I'm talking about in the Shadow Person book about the vibration level, because Shauna will see a lot more apparitions than shadows, and I will see a lot more shadows than apparitions. I believe that has to do with the vibrational level. So,
hey, there you go. You know,
yeah, it's an idea. So,
you know, it could be like blood type too. You know, people have different types of blood types. Maybe Shauna has a certain blood type that allows her to see things at her current young age.
I don't even.
You are, young lady.
I'm probably older than you, Adam. If I had to guess.
Oh no.
Oh
no,
yeah.
I'm an old soul. I'm at least judging by the Roman British era that I'm studying right now, I feel like I'm about 1900 years old.
Yeah, you're an old soul, Adam, but you're still a young man. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, my friend. And we have another caller on the line, so we're going to get to that person. But thank you for all of your input and telling us a little bit more about the twinkle you saw. So.
Oh, and
of course. I'll see you guys back in the chat.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yep, they're saying that we need to have Adam back on the show as a guest.
We will work on that. I'll have to coax Adam.
Diane is on hold.
Okay. So let me unmute her. I'm still getting used to the controls here with this.
You're a trooper, Diane. She waited.
All right. Well, thank you. Hello, Diane Hilbert. How you doing tonight?
Hello. Just calling in to say hi.
Oh, great. Well, thanks for joining us. How are you feeling today?
Yeah, I am feeling so good.
Good.
So much better.
Good. Yeah, I know you had a scare there.
It's funny watching you on the screen. The delay is funny.
There is a delay. Yeah, there's that.
Frontier.
Yeah, there is.
Yep.
There is. So, I mean, the line was open, and I said I'll call you for a minute just to say hello.
Okay. Do you have any
I am doing
stories
well.
for us or anything like that, or just letting us know you're doing well?
Not really. I'm just awful glad to still be here.
Yeah, well, we are definitely glad to still have you. So everybody continue to send positive energy out to Diane Hilbert. So she had a scare here. What was that, last week or the week before?
Well, I was in hospital from the 3rd to the 13th. No, through the 3rd to the 11th. So that was pretty bad. And the food is terrible. Stay out of hospital, guys. You don't want to go there.
Yeah.
Especially around here. But, nope, doing well, getting stronger every day.
Great.
I'll be able to make both of your shows today, so I'm a happy little camper.
Well, and we're definitely happy to have you, Diane. So.
Yeah. Okay.
All
Look
right.
at this. Everybody gets to hear my voice finally.
That's right.
I'm a real person.
You are.
Even Shauna gets to hear me. Yay!
Yeah, because you guys have never actually met in person. But,
No. Don't know if that's going to happen, but
yeah, we just have to get her out
maybe
to Ocean State
someday.
Paracon. Yeah.
Someday, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe someday you'll get her in that car. Maybe.
I hope so. The longer trips are a little bit tougher than the shorter ones. So.
And Vanessa. Just bring the whole gang out.
Oh, I'd love to. Absolutely love to. We'll get a bus and head on out.
There you go.
Yeah.
Maybe you can find an old VW microbus.
There you
and
go.
just travel cross country with it. That would be cool.
That would be
That'd be
fun.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll let you two go. I know it's past your hour.
Oh, that's fine. Thank you very much for calling in, Diana. Great to you sound fantastic.
Okay, have a good night. Yeah, have a good night.
a
Love
good night.
everybody.
All right, love you too, Diane.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Well, that was
Yeah.
great to hear from Diane. Yeah, she had a scare there the other week, and yeah, so she's still with us, which is fantastic because that was unfortunately on the table. So, all right. So let's see if anybody else has anything real quick. Candy Orton had a story here to relate real quick in Mineral Springs. She says she was standing in the deep end of the pool, looking to the shallow end on the concrete around the pool to the right, and she saw 2 white light anomalies. That was at the Haunted Road Media Paracon, and that was the same time and around the same location that Adam saw his twinkles that he was just talking about when he called in.
Yep, totally believe
So,
it because that kind of stuff is pretty common. Pretty common there now.
Tammy Heitzman has a hashtag down there, hashtag HRM bus. The Haunted Road Media bus. And,
With the Haunted Road Media logo on the side.
oh,
of
yeah,
it.
we'll paint the whole thing up, and yeah, we'll just pick people up along the way. We're headed east. That would actually be pretty fun. Just go state to state, picking people up and
Yeah.
heading out there. That would be fun, actually. So
Take our show on the road.
yeah. So who's organizing that? Because I don't have enough time to organize that. All right, everybody. We're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Do some shout outs here and let you know real quick about next week's show for Beyond the Shadows. There's not going to be one. That's because immediately after our doubleheader that we're doing on Edge of the Rabbit Hole, I'm headed out east, not in a bus though. I'm going to be heading out in shadow to New York for a series of investigations, and I have to like hit the road and get some miles in Tuesday night because of how long it's going to be, and we're investigating Wednesday. So no Beyond the Shadows.
I'm not.
And Shauna's not,
I
unfortunately.
can't go.
Yeah.
I gotta work.
Yeah, it's lousy. It's lousy. But I'll keep you updated along the way. But again, remind everybody, next week, Edge of the Rabbit Hole is starting an hour early, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. Ricky Rocket is going to be up first. Thank you, Shauna, for setting that up. Ricky Rocket.
Thank you, Ricky Rocket.
Yes. Yes, the drummer from Poison.
Yes.
He has a legend tripping show that he's been doing on YouTube now for a little while, and so we're going to have him out, talk about his different legends that he's been seeking out. He had Alexandra Holzer on his Amityville episode that he did, so you'll probably talk a little bit of that, and just talk about what he's up to. So that'll be pretty cool. Immediately following that, our old friend Rob Guttrell will be back to talk about his new book, Kindred
Yay.
Spirits. So, yeah, double feature night on Edge of the Rabbit Hole, no Beyond the Shadows. But we'll be back the following week, regular time for everything. So, actually, not regular time for everything because there will not be a Beyond the Shadows the following week either, because that'll be October 1st, and that's when we'll be going live from the sub-basement of Mineral Springs.
Ooh, yeah.
Coyote Chris Sutton will be with us. We'll be doing drum circle from the basement there. And, of course, Dave Donnelly will be there as well to talk about, the stories and all that stuff. So, yeah, we've been missing 2 weeks in a row Beyond the Shadows.
Yeah. Oh, and
Darn.
if you're
I'm
in
sorry.
the Alton area, September 28th is round 2 of Create Your Own Zombie Doll.
There you go, Zombie Doll.
So I'll be there and creating a sister for Zara. And I've invited a lot of people, and I would like to see some people show up. So just go to the It's Raining Zen site and look at their event schedule. And September 28th, I think it's at like 3 o'clock, 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Don't quote me. You should go look to be sure. While you're there, like their page.
Everybody's liking
definitely
that. Everybody's liking the idea of the Haunted Road Media bus.
Yeah.
And it makes so much sense. It scrolled by it, but it makes sense. You're on the haunted road on a bus. It makes a lot of sense. So, yeah. Zombie dolls. I'll be checking in throughout from on the road with check the of course check Facebook, check the Instagram posts. Hell, there's even TikTok now. If you believe this, today TikTok went nuts because I posted the La Llorona video that we did like back in April on here, and it has now surpassed the Haunted Road Media YouTube channel and followers. It's like it went nuts. So
if you're on TikTok,
if you're on TikTok, check it out. And basically, I'm taking clips and putting them out there. So if you want like little bites of ghost stories, there you go.